Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're going to dive into how a simple joke can be used as a razor-sharp weapon to subvert political power. We usually think of political resistance in terms of massive protests or grand sweeping speeches, right? But sometimes the absolute most effective rebellion happens right inside a pun. So to really explore this, we're using the opening scene of William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar as our ultimate case study. Honestly, it's a true masterclass in how language can turn the entire social hierarchy completely upside down. Right off the bat, let's start with a kind of provocative question to challenge your perception. Can a simple play on words actually shake the foundations of a ruling elite? I mean, it sounds almost too easy, doesn't it? We're so often taught to view puns as the lowest form of humor, a total groaner your dad might tell at the dinner table. But when you place it in the context of a rigid society, a pun suddenly becomes something much, much more dangerous.
Well, to answer that question, we really have to redefine the pun itself. We shouldn't view it as a cheap joke at all, but rather as a linguistic Trojan horse. It's this brilliant, stealthy tool for the working class to intellectually outbox condescending bureaucrats. By using words with double meanings, a person can say one thing that completely satisfies the authorities while simultaneously winking at the crowd with a completely different, totally rebellious message.
Section 1. The weapon of wordplay. To see exactly how this works in action, we're dropping right into the streets of ancient Rome. It's a public holiday, the Feast of the Lupercal, and this rowdy group of commoners has gathered to celebrate Julius Caesar's triumphant return after defeating the sons of his rival, Pompey. But the party is suddenly interrupted by two angry government officials, the tribunes Flavius and Marullus. They are absolutely furious that the workers have downed their tools and are out in their best clothes celebrating a man that the tribunes see as a massive threat to the Roman Republic.
Section 2. Rome's linguistic class divide.
So what's really fascinating here is how Shakespeare builds this conflict directly into the actual sound of their voices. Just looking at the structure, we have the tribunes speaking in blank verse. This is formal, rule-bound, unrhymed iambic pentameter with a strict, regular heartbeat rhythm. It screams high status and control. Then, in stark contrast, we have the commoner speaking in prose. It's standard paragraphs, it's totally free-flowing, and it represents the everyday, colloquial speech of the street. It's the language of comedy, for sure, but as we'll see, it's also incredibly sharp.
The tribunes, they try to assert their dominance immediately. Just listen to Flavius. Hence, home you idle creatures, get you home. Is this a holiday? The rhythmic verse and those harsh interrogative questions are entirely designed to put the workers right back in their place. Flavius is talking down to them, demanding they identify their trades and scolding them for being idle. He literally expects total, unquestioning obedience.
Section 3. Mending souls and souls.
Okay, so how exactly does a lowly tradesman fight back against that kind of heat? Well, instead of cowering or answering directly, a seemingly simple cobbler responds with this incredibly sassy, evasive remark. When asked his trade, he says, "A trade, sir, that I hope I may use with a safe conscience, which is indeed, sir, a mender of bad souls." He flat out refuses to give a straight answer to these furious tribunes.
Let's actually break down this Elizabethan double meaning, because it's brilliant. On the surface, the cobbler is just stating his literal job, right? He fixes worn-out shoes or bad soles. But the hidden punchline, the real Trojan horse here, is the play on the word souls with a U. By saying he mends bad souls, he is subtly suggesting that corruption is rife in Rome, and he's essentially calling the government officials morally corrupt right to their faces.
And he doesn't just stop there. Nope. He keeps this subversive evasion going by punning on his shoemaking tool, the awl. AWL. He says, "All that I live by is with the awl. I am indeed, sir, a surgeon to old shoes." He's just having verbal fun at their expense. The elite tribune Marullus is utterly confused and takes him literally, entirely missing the quick-witted layers of the joke.
Section 4. The power of prose. Now, this incredibly relatable act of defying authority reveals a massive power shift. It proves that the formal, high-status blank verse of the tribunes is actually quite rigid and completely vulnerable to the agility of everyday street language. Tribune Marullus is stiff, demanding literal, straightforward answers. He's totally unequipped to handle humor. But the cobbler? He's sharp-witted, evasive, and subtly mocking. He essentially uses the tribune's own anger against them, running rings around his supposed superiors, without ever technically breaking the law or being overtly treasonous. Basically, this whole exchange hits the nail on the head regarding one core truth. Official authority absolutely does not equal intelligence. The common people are quick, they are incredibly smart, and they are perfectly capable of mocking social authority whenever it suits them.
They are certainly not just the blocks and stones that the tribunes accuse them of being.
Furthermore, this interaction establishes the Roman crowd itself as a hugely powerful political entity in its own right. Sure, they're fickle and easily swayed. I mean, they used to cheer for Pompey, and now they're out here cheering for the guy who defeated him. They are quick to celebrate the current winner. But most importantly, they are a legitimate political force, and their shifting loyalties deeply, deeply frighten the ruling class. Their holiday spirit isn't just a day off. It's a very real political endorsement of Caesar.
Section 5. Truth hidden in jests.
Because behind all that comic relief of the pun, there lies a very, very serious anxiety about the delicate balance of power in society. The jokes have landed, the commoners eventually disperse, but the tribunes, they're left terrified of what this crowd's energy actually means for the future of Rome. The tribune's true fear is revealed in this striking metaphor from Flavius. These growing feathers plucked from Caesar's wing will make him fly an ordinary pitch. They view the commoner's celebration and the decorations on Caesar's statues as literal feathers on his wing. These feathers are lifting Caesar to a level of unchecked tyrannical power. And if they don't pluck these feathers, if they don't disperse the crowds and take down those decorations, Caesar's going to soar above them all and keep them in servile fearfulness.
You see, the holiday spirit these tribunes are trying so desperately to crush, that's the exact same popular energy fueling Caesar's rise. By attempting to silence the cobbler's jokes and strip the statues, the elite are desperately trying to suppress the populist energy that threatens to replace their republic with a dictatorship. The pun was really just the tip of the spear. The real threat is the masses waking up and realizing their own strength. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. When a simple tradesman can linguistically disarm a high-ranking government official right there in the middle of the street, who truly holds the power in that society? Is it the people with the fancy titles and the formal verse? Or is it the people who control the language, the humor, and the energy of the crowd? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.
Subscribe, hit the like.